At Team Toyota, they've been selling and servicing new and used Toyotas in your community for over 50 years, and you can reserve your next new Toyota with them today. You'll get a realistic timeline, and even in this crazy market, they won't charge you over MSRP. Or don't wait at all. With over 75 certified Toyotas, including a bunch of RAV4 and Highlanders, you can drive one home today. And you can always trust them to maintain your current vehicle. Their service and collision centers are high-tech, comfortable, and will save you time and money. Team Toyota can help you go anywhere you want, but they'll always be your hometown team. Just visit teamtoyota.net and choose from 3 locations in Langhorne, Glen Mills, or Princeton.
It's finally here. It's opening day, and this is the Phillies Talk podcast presented by Team Toyota. I'm Corey Seidman. He's Jim Salisbury. And Jim, I feel like we've been waiting for this day forever at this point, between the length of the lockout and then all the excitement for the Phillies early in spring training with the additions of Kyle Schwarber and, of course, Nick Castellanos. So here we are. It's opening day. It's going to be a hectic day, and the Phillies open with bigger expectations than there have been around here in quite a long time.
Yeah, basically since 2011, when they had Jimmy and Chase and Ryan and Cliff Lee and Doc Halladay and Cole Hamels. Expectations fueled by a spending spree here in the last month, adding Kyle Schwarber and Nick Castellanos. You put them in with Bryce Harper, Rhys Hoskins, JT Realmuto, and you have an explosive lineup. I'm not even going to say potentially explosive. I'm going to go way out on a limb and say an explosive lineup. They're going to score runs. People love offense. That's a ballpark where, when it's rocking, you can, and when you got good bats in that lineup, you can hit a lot of home runs. They hit 32 home runs in 20 spring training games. So I expect them to slug. Curious to see how the defense is, how the bullpen is, how the starting rotation holds up. I like the starting rotation a lot, but very, very thin. Need good health there. But it's all out in front of us now, 162 games. It's like, every day is the chapter. In a novel, there will be great chapters. There will be ugly chapters. There will be chapters that make you pull your hair out. There will be chapters that make you pump your fist in ecstasy or joy. And then at the end, you hope that the team gets into the postseason for the first time since 2011. Certainly the expectations are right where they were that year. And I'm looking forward to see how it all unfolds on a daily basis.
So the Phillies officially finalized their opening day roster on Thursday. There was nothing different from 48 hours prior, when it was basically sealed, with Connor Brogdon making the team and both Bryson Stott and Alec Bohm making the team. It's going to be interesting out of the gate to see how much playing time Joe Girardi is able to allocate for both of these young infielders, Bryson Stott and Alec Bohm. I mean, Stott earned the job by hitting all throughout spring training, but Alec Bohm's going to need to see some plate appearances as well. The Phillies have a lot of games in a short amount of time there, but it would seem that just having him rest on the bench, sit on the bench, get 1, 2, 3 at-bats here and there isn't going to be conducive to Bohm pushing forward and being able to kind of break his own way out of what's been a year-long skid at this point.
No, he's a developing player. The developing player needs playing time if he's going to develop. So Joe's going to have to get him out there. They have no days off the first 13 games, 13 straight. They're coming out of spring training. It's a short spring training, so it stands to reason he's going to rest guys here and there as they get their legs, and sort of like they're in the final days of spring training mode still, at least physically. So he'll get some shots at third. I think Bohm could move. Stott could move around a little bit. Bohm could get some third, maybe a day at first, maybe a day at DH. I don't know how Joe is going to do it, but it's an opportunity for Bohm. I don't know how many of them he's going to get, but he needs to really capitalize on them. Rosters are at 28, 2 extra. If it was a 26-man roster, I think he probably goes to AAA. And he could still end up in AAA as guys like Odubel Herrera. He'll come off the IL here in the next few weeks, and then rosters will shrink back to 26 on May 1. So with any playing time that Bohm does get, he needs to prove that he belongs here beyond May 1. And if he's going to do a lot of sitting, they need to get him to AAA so he's seen pitches and getting regular reps in the field so he can improve as a player.
So we've talked a ton about the offense all throughout the offseason. You said that, you don't even want to use the word potential. I think you're safe there. This is going to be a really good offense. I mean, on paper, probably the best offense in the NL East. Whether that plays out remains to be seen. But I want to talk about the starting rotation. You wrote an interesting piece at NBCSportsPhiladelphia.com on Thursday about Aaron Nola. And in that, you referenced the thinness of this Philly starting rotation that, yeah, they have their five, they have their group of five, but what beyond that? And that's a big question because we never see teams go through a full season, 6 straight months where
Yeah.
all 5 guys stay healthy. I think that if the Phillies could get, 30 starts out of 3 guys in their 5-man rotation, they'd feel pretty good about that.
To me, it's one of the biggest concerns on the team. Folks are going to say, "Well, defense is a big concern." Yeah, I hear you. It was really bad last year, but I think it's going to be better. In spring training, I watched every day as Bobby Dickerson and Paco Figueroa, infield coach, outfield coach, respectively, drilled and drilled and drilled and instructed. And Didi Gregorius at shortstops is healthy this year. He looks to be in better physical condition. Stott's going to get reps at third. I don't know that he's ever going to be a Gold Glover, but I think he can be adequate, average type of major league infielder. I just think the defense is going to be better because they've worked on it so much because they're a little healthier at shortstop, and it can't be as bad as it was last year. So on my list of concerns, starting pitching depth is a big one. It's a big one. I like their top five. Who doesn't like Wheeler, Eflin, Suarez, Nola, Gibson? There's that's good stuff. I mean, in a short playoff series, I mean, you got some names there that teams that can go out there and do some damage and make you dangerous in a short series, especially when you combine it with this offense. But we all know it's 162. It's a grind, and that you need more than 5 starting pitchers in a course of a season. And starting rotation depth to me is a major concern. It puts a real premium on these guys staying healthy, delivering starts, delivering innings, because there's just not a lot coming behind these 5 starters. And really, probably the guys that you were going to be leaning on beyond them are already on the roster in kind of relief roles. Guys like a Bailey Falter and Nick Nelson. Those are guys that are on the roster now that have made the opening day roster, probably multiple inning relief guys. If somebody goes down, I would think, even a Christopher Sanchez, those would be the types you'd be looking at in the rotation. So I see a big drop off after number 5 in the rotation. I like the rotation, but good health is an absolute must on this pitching staff. And if they lose someone, they're going to experience a fall off.
In talking about the defense, and personally, I think that, so nationally, the conversation around the Phillies, so much of it focuses on their defense. And to me, some of it's a little overblown. Like, yes, this is not going to be a great defense, but they should be able to slug their way past some of their deficiencies for chunks of the season. So you talked about Didi Gregorius there, and he's a player that we haven't discussed a ton this offseason because there's been all this attention on the new guys and all this attention on, Bryson Stott and a Mickey Moniak. How did Didi look defensively altogether this spring?
Passable, fine, um, good enough that he held off whatever challenge he was going to get from Bryson Stott. Um, and, I think a lot of that was, you know, words to fire up DD. And he came in and he played better. He looked more athletic, which was key. He's healthier, had elbow surgery. But in the end, were you really going to take $15 million and sit it on your bench? Um, he's going to get a shot to go out there. And I think I have a feeling he'll be fine, especially with a deeper lineup. He can blend in. He's just got to make the routine plays. That's all you need. Make the plays you're supposed to make. Now and then, break the other team's back with a play that maybe you're not supposed to make. But just make the routine plays, get to the balls you're supposed to get to. Um, and I think he will be improved. He held off, like I said, he held off that challenge, but I think it was a challenge only on paper because it was going to be tough to sit him. And I think he's a proud guy. Came in better shape, like I said. Um, I wouldn't judge DD on a month. I'd give him, you got to give him time, give him a couple months, and see what he looks like before there's any panic. But I think he's going to be better. He's been a pretty good player throughout his career, and I think he's going to be better this year.
So, Jim, in recent years, we've seen teams try to give their starters at points in the season an extra day, their starting pitchers. And I'm just curious how you think this is going to play out in the first 2 months of the season where the Phillies play 52 games in the span of 55 days. There's going to be, you know, uh, I would think at some point an interest on the Phillies' part to give Zach Wheeler an extra day after he led the National League in innings or to get Aaron Nola an extra day. Could we see, given the thinness of the rotation beyond those five, you think we could see some bullpen games again?
It's very conceivable, and I think your point is good. You got to give them a blow now and then. I mean, they're taking care of some of it, it seems, on the front end. Um, Zach Eflin, will pitch on Sunday. Ranger Suarez will pitch on Monday, and Wheeler will pitch on Tuesday. And I expect all of those outings to be abridged, shortened, just because none of those guys really built up to where they need to be coming out of spring training. They're still, boom, building up workload. So I think the first two, maybe even three, they might watch their workload. So that will take care of some of that on the front end. But this has been a team that, yeah, often will give guys an extra day of rest when they can. Um, and for a guy, especially a guy like Aaron Nola, I think the stats bear it out. He often pitches much better on an extra day of rest. But it's going to be important. It dovetails with what I was saying earlier. You got to keep him healthy, and it goes along with something Joe Girardi often says, and I agree with. The prize is in October. You don't need to set endurance records in June. So if this offense is what we think it is, and they're you know crushing somebody 8-0, and Zach Wheeler's spinning a two-hitter. Um, does he need to finish it? Does he need to finish it in May or June or July? The crowd will boo when Joe takes the ball from him, but the prize is later on. So if you can nip a little bit here and there on workload, you might reap the benefits later in the season. So um, your point is good. They're going to have to watch these guys' workload. With it's a condensed season. They're going to pack a lot of games in there, fewer days off. They're going to have to really monitor stuff, and they do it these days with more than just the eyeballs. It used to be the eyeballs and the way the ball was coming out of a guy's hand and what the catcher was telling you, what the pitching coach was seeing, what the opposing hitters were telling you with their swings. Good swings will tell you maybe the pitcher is losing a little bit. Well, now they have so much sophisticated technology that can measure spin rate, and when that drops, it tells you fatigue is setting in. They can measure velocity, and that drops, fatigue may be setting in. They can measure arm angle, and if that drops a little bit, the guy might be favoring something, fatigue might be setting in. So they have ways to gauge all that beyond just the eye test, and it's all designed to prevent injury and preserve guys for the long haul. So that stuff's going to be super important this year because it goes back to what we said. They're not real deep in that starting rotation, and that starting rotation is pretty good. And though we're putting all this attention on that lineup and the excitement in it, those five guys in the middle of the diamond on that mound every day are huge. Are going to be huge to this team's fate.
Yeah, and the Phillies are not alone in terms of, not having a ton of rotation depth. I'm just looking ahead to that second series of the season, Phillies Mets. The Mets are already without Jacob deGrom. I saw that Taijuan Walker is dealing with knee soreness, so that's another piece of their rotation that's a little bit uncertain heading into the year. The Phillies have these three with Oakland to begin, and then they have that exciting 3-game series against the Mets next Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday at Citizens Bank Park. Another team in the NL East that spent a ton of money this offseason and is trying to, fix what went wrong in 2021.
Yeah, you get the Mets right out of the gate. And with DeGrom out, that's such a game changer for me. I think he's at times over the last handful of years been the most impactful player in the division, and he's certainly still one of the most impactful guys. And you take that guy out, and to me, they're a different team, even with Scherzer. They're a different team without DeGrom. So um, you got to clean up, I think, on Oakland, win a series against a team that you have a payroll $200 million greater than. And then you got a Mets team that it's just not at full strength coming out of the gate. We were kind of looking at them back in November as well. They really did a lot to their lineup. They got Max Scherzer in the rotation. They did a bunch of stuff in their lineup, led by Marte. But then the Phillies, I think, trumped them right in the lineup with the moves they made in the last month. So they're one of the teams that are above you. Braves, Mets, Phillies. I think the Marlins have a puncher's chance with their young talent, with their arms. But the Phillies need to take care of business in their division. Everybody needs to clean up on Washington. Is going to be the fifth place team likely. But head to head, you need to take the Mets and take it to them next week. You need to win series. It's all about winning series. You win enough series, you go to the postseason, and a lot of good things can happen.
I don't know about you, Jim. I'm just glad to be talking about games that count finally. So it all starts for the Phillies today. Phillies, A's this weekend, and then they have the Mets. We're going to be doing these Phillies Talk podcasts more frequently throughout the season. So hope you enjoyed today's show. Hope you enjoy the game and the weekend. We'll be talking to you soon.